Welcome back to the Sibling Group Chat. I'm Owen.
And I'm Cassidy.
And today we're back at it with the Odyssey review, episode 13, an Officer Harley episode, Bobby's Valentine.
Yes, this episode aired on February 13th, 1988, the day before Valentine's Day. And as Owen mentioned, it is a part of the Officer Harley collection. And in this episode, young Bobby gets a note from Amy, who thinks he's the cutest boy in school. Bobby, however, wants to stay as far away from Amy as possible. And our themes are honesty, crushes, and puppy love.
That's actually in the theme.
That's actually what it says. And now Owen's gonna have a certain song stuck in his head for the rest of the day.
Right. Anyway, moving on.
One thing I would like to point out is that they said one of the themes in this was honesty, and that was a theme last week with the Tangled Web.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into the actual episode, Chris's intro talks about a man who was very popular and he lived in the Roman Empire. I have no idea who that could be.
You skipped her sketch.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
It's worth forgetting, because honestly, from this sketch, I thought this episode was going to be terrible, because this sketch was about, like, a boy receiving an embarrassing note from a crush in class, and the teacher reads out loud in class. And I'm like, this is terrible and embarrassing. If this is anything like the rest of the episode, this is going to be terrible. But thankfully, the rest of the episode wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, then she has this trivia question about this mysterious person who lived during the Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm. Which, seeing as how it's Valentine's Day, I feel like there's only one answer. But, we'll find out later.
We might be surprised at the end.
Yeah. So, anyway, we find out that this kid named Bobby... Is this a Bobby we've met before? I feel like it is. It's a voice.
Well, I went back and checked, because I was wondering the same thing. So far, we've had 5 episodes with a Bobby in them. One time he was only mentioned. You never hear him speak. But every time, he's been voiced by Dave Griffin, so I'm assuming it's the same Bobby. There's no continuity between episodes, but there's also no reason to believe it's not the same kid.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if he'd always been voiced by the same person or not.
From what I have in my notes, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, Bobby is this kid. We find out he keeps getting notes from this girl named Amy.
Mm-hmm.
At school, and then we find out it's Valentine's Day, and the episode really starts with Bobby going to sit with Jeff at the school cafeteria, which honestly, it just opens really funny. He's like, what kind of poison are they serving us today? And
I loved Jeff throughout this whole episode. He had some great lines.
Yeah, Jeff is like, what kind of poison are they serving us today? And Bobby's like, I don't know, all I can smell what smells like my dad's sneakers. And then Jeff proceeds to do a piece-by-piece description of the meal, to which Bobby's like, would you quit? I have to eat this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff is not a great friend, but he's a funny character.
I mean, I don't know if he's a bad friend, but...
No, he gives some questionable advice.
Yeah, but at the same time, Bobby doesn't really take any of his advice, so it's almost not even serious advice.
Yeah. So with Jeff, his voice was familiar to me. I finally placed it as he's the kid in the first Camp Wadena episode who's keeping the journal, but I can't remember that boy's name.
Oh.
And I think he's, I think he's also, the episode Mike Makes Right about the kid Mike who gets bullied, but then he bullies the bully.
Yeah.
He's either Mike or Mike's friend. His voice is in that episode too, but I know you don't care, but I like keeping track of voices, so that's where I recognize Jeff from.
Okay. Yeah, so at lunch, Bobby's telling Jeff about the note he got from this girl named... Well, actually, they're kind of just exchanging, if they got notes or Valentines from any girls, because they think girls are disgusting. Because, they're
pre-teenage boys.
I'm going to say, they've got to be, 4th, 5th grade boys, because...
They're definitely not in junior high.
So they could maybe be 6th graders, but anything 6th grade and on, they would not be thinking girls were disgusting.
This would be reversed.
Yeah. So anyway, Bobby is talking about the note he got from Amy. She thinks he's
Well,
cute.
before we hear about Bobby's note, we hear about Jeff's note. Jeff got a note from Alice Knickerbocker.
Oh yeah.
And, well, actually, it was a Valentine, not a note. And he stuck his chewing gum in it and gave it back to her.
Yeah.
Poor Alice.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, Bobby is telling Jeff about the note he got from Amy. And she thinks he's the cutest, and he's like the best boy in school, and she likes him. And apparently she's been staring at him all day, too, and Bobby's kind of creeped out.
Yeah. But apparently she had given him this note previously to Valentine's Day because we find out his mom already knows about the note because she thinks it's cute.
Well, she said, Amy later in the episode said she put it in his mailbox, so she probably just like put it there that morning.
Oh, and he just saw it before his school. That makes sense.
That was what I understood.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, his mom thinks it's cute.
Yeah.
And Jeff says, tell her to leave you alone. And Bobby says, I can't. She's my mother. He's like, I meant Amy. Yeah, there's a lot of great, funny lines in this. I noted quite a few of them.
Yeah. So then there's the, and included in the note, she also wants Bobby to, like, study with her or something. So Bobby wants to try to get her to leave him alone, but he doesn't want to do anything, like, mean or, like, hurt her feelings or anything, so he's kind of not sure what to do. And then Jeff's like...
But I was going to say, because he doesn't want to be mean to her, Jeff thinks that either he likes her or he's just chicken, because Jeff is like, just throw mud at her and she'll leave you alone.
Yeah. So yeah, Jeff is thinking Bobby's chicken, and the bell rings, and Bobby's like, oh, look at that, back to class. And then the next thing we see is we actually find Amy at wit's end staring at a milkshake, hoping that Bobby...
Before though, we get some transition music.
Ah, yes.
This is the wedding march transition music that we know from the episode where everyone thinks Mr. Whittaker's getting married. And I was like, this has been here all along?
Yeah. Like, I heard that, like, I didn't know they used that more than once.
I know. Yeah. But to think, because this episode actually comes way before that one, they were recording that episode, like, I think we have some wedding bell music around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Dig it out of the archives.
It is fun sometimes to notice, like, which transitions they use regularly and which ones they, like, are new or, like, don't get used very often.
Yeah, or you have, like, the dark episode transitions and the funny episode transitions and the love episode transitions.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we transition to Amy is talking to Connie at wit's end.
Yes. Amy is staring at a milkshake, and Connie walks up and is like, it's not going to jump up the straw into your mouth. So basically, we find out Amy is disappointed, and she's disappointed because Bobby hasn't shown up to study with her yet.
Poor Amy.
Yeah, that's all she wants in life, apparently.
Yeah. Also, Connie calls Amy's milkshake squashed ice cream.
Yeah.
And now I can't unsee milkshakes as just squashed ice cream.
It's not squash, it's blended, but...
True, but she's just like, it's just squashed ice cream. I'm like, I suppose it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so then Connie is trying to give her some advice, talking to her about crushes, and, as we find out later, I feel like Connie's probably always got a crush,
She admits it right here.
Yeah.
She's like, I've always got a crush, but they normally don't last longer than a week.
Yeah. Anyway, she says one time she had a similar situation to where Amy's at in this episode. And she says that since Bobby's ignoring her, what she should do is ignore Bobby so that he starts wondering about her. Like, he'll be confused.
It's true. We all do it.
Really?
I mean, it's never worked for me, but yeah.
You've tried it?
It's the only tactic I've ever tried. Ignore them completely, then I'm sure they'll know you're there.
Interesting. I'll have to keep that in mind.
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, Amy decides that's what she's gonna do.
Yeah. And then after that, we find Bobby and Ralph having a brainstorming session on how to get her...
Bobby and Jeff.
What did I say?
Ralph?
Oh. That'd be a typo right there.
Ralph is from episode 1.
Oh. I feel like I wrote his name as Ralph at least one other time. No, maybe not.
Well, it's not the first time you've misnamed people.
No, I've got him as Jeff. Anyway,
Okay.
Bobby and Jeff are walking down the street having a brainstorming session on how to get Amy to leave him alone. And as they're walking, they run into, and I do mean run into, they literally run into Officer Harley, who is on a stakeout in the middle of the street. Checks out for Officer Harley, but it begs the question, what is he looking for? Turns out, jaywalkers. Didn't realize that was such a big issue. But, yeah, he says there's been a crime spree of jaywalkers lately.
Yeah. I think it's funny that we're always running into Officer Harley, like, on the street or on the sidewalk. Because I'm pretty sure that's where the kid of the Doing Unto Others episode ran into him as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. But at the same time, I mean, it makes sense if he's, like, just like a police officer who does stuff like crossing guard.
Stake out for jaywalkers. Yeah.
Like crossing guard, like traffic direction if he needs to, like that kind of stuff. Like, I think that one episode where he parked the car illegally and gave himself a ticket is the only episode we ever hear where he's anywhere near a police car, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I think Officer Harley, well, they tell him that they're like trying to figure out what to do about this girl that won't leave Bobby alone, and Officer Harley's like, "You want me to arrest her for harassment?"
Yeah.
And Bobby's like, "Oh, would you?"
Yeah. Like, is that an option?
Yeah. And surprisingly, Officer Harley does say he would need some more information before he just arrested her for harassment. That's pretty good for him.
Yeah, no kidding. But, so, they're trying to give Officer Harley all the facts because apparently arresting is on the table, so we better at least explore the possibility. And basically, Officer Harley reaches the conclusion that, well, he doesn't say this, but, like, arresting her is probably not in the cards. But he reaches the conclusion that what Bobby should do is pretend that he likes her because it'll scare her away.
Even before that, Officer Harley shares a tactic that he says they used back in his elementary days. He says they used to dip the girls' pigtails in inkwells. I don't think Officer Harley is that old.
I wouldn't know when they started or stopped using inkwells in schools, but...
But that's like a Little House on the Prairie time period type tactic.
Yeah.
So even, okay, if Officer Harley is 30 right now, that means he was born in the 50s. If that's like, I'd say the youngest he probably is. So regardless of how old he is, I don't think he was dipping girls' pigtails in inkwells.
Well, you never know. Maybe he lived in the middle of nowhere and they couldn't afford pens.
Maybe. Or maybe he was just carrying around inkwells. Wouldn't put it past him.
No. But yeah, after...
But yeah, Bobby's like, oh, she doesn't have pigtails. And he's like, okay, then just pretend you like her.
Yeah, I've never heard this strategy before, nor would I try it.
No. The ignoring works far better, I'll say.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah, then Officer Harley, they kind of say, like, I think Jeff says maybe they should try it. Bobby's not quite so sure. And Officer Harley's like, well, it worked for me when I was a kid. Or is that how I met my wife?
Yeah. If I was Bobby at this point, I would be like, I'm good. Just on the chance that this is how you met your wife, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, although it does also remind us that apparently Officer Harley doesn't even remember how he met his wife, because I'm pretty sure he referenced, like, meeting his wife in another episode, too.
Something about his wife,
something about, like, I had a strange conversation with a girl once, then I married her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I need some background on Mrs. Harley.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's got stories to tell.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Officer Harley tells Bobby he should take Amy to the gazebo to talk to her, and Bobby's like, what's a gazebo?
Yeah, the explanation of a gazebo is really funny, actually.
It's funny, but accurate.
Yeah. Like, I would
Like that white building with no walls where the band plays.
Yeah. Well, it makes it funnier because later Amy just refers to it by the exact same wording that Officer Harley uses.
Yeah. One thing I liked here is, like, I feel like so far in Odyssey, I have yet to see as good of an example of foreshadowing as we have in this episode. Like, as soon as. Because Connie just told Amy, pretend, like, just ignore him, and it'll work. And then Bobby gets told, pretend you like her. It'll work. You just know it's not gonna go well. And I just really liked the foreshadowing here because I know it's just something I feel like we haven't seen so far in Odyssey. And I was like, oh, I know what's gonna happen here.
Yeah. So Bobby does decide to take Officer Harley's advice, and so he goes to its end and finds Amy and invites her to walk to the gazebo, which takes a little bit of persuading since she's ignoring him as they start the conversation.
But she tells him she's ignoring him.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're doing a good job.
Yeah. If I was Bobby, I would have just forgot the whole thing right there. Like, oh, you're ignoring me? Sounds good. See you later.
I know. But instead he's just like, oh, okay. And then even Connie says, like, as they're leaving, Amy's like, Connie, ignoring him worked. And Connie's like, well, at least she wasn't being obvious.
Yeah. So anyway, Bobby tries the whole tactic by telling her that he does like her, and it doesn't go quite how he expected. She was thrilled,
Nope.
actually.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's like poetry to my earlobes.
Yeah. And he's like, how's that? It didn't rhyme.
Yeah, because previously to this, Amy had been writing him poetry. I don't think we ever mentioned that.
No. We could read it if we had written it down. It was something.
It was something, but yeah, I didn't write it down.
Either. That was almost...
It was almost as good as I Like Pants.
We say just a tier below Charles Thompson's I Like Pants. That is one of the greatest poems of all time, so...
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because this doesn't work, Amy leaves so joyfully in love, and Bobby's like, now I'm gonna have to find an inkwell.
Yeah. But, so basically what happens is, it ends up driving Bobby crazy for a week, because we find out it's like a week later, and he hasn't figured out a way to fix the situation yet.
Mm-hmm.
Then we talk to Whit for what seems like really late.
Finally.
Yeah, it's like he's been gone somewhere. Maybe he was skydiving. I don't know. But what episode?
But this is the second time, because this was also like the dieting episode where we received several, or even the doing unto others episode, where we have several examples of poor advice, and then finally at the end we come to Mr. Whitaker for some good advice.
Yeah, luckily it's actually good advice, unlike the last time we got Mr. Whitaker advice.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
But yeah, so Mr. Whitaker, well, they go, and Mr. Whitaker takes them to see this invention, and he's kind of working on it as they talk.
The super scooper.
It's the super scooper. Makes a Sunday for you. And so Bobby's asking for advice on how to deal with the situation, and the first thing Mr. Whitaker really says is, I don't know. And Jeff goes, how can you not know? You're Mr. Whitaker. You're supposed to know everything.
Yeah. But even that line was funny. I noted that one. But even before that, when Jeff's like or Bobby's explaining, like, this girl likes me and I don't know what to do about it. And Mr. Whitaker's like, well, it's not all bad. He's like, I think it's kind of flattering. Don't you, Jeff? Jeff goes, I think it's gross.
Yeah.
But yes, then Mr. Whitaker's like, yeah, I don't know what to do. And like, you're Mr. Whitaker. You're supposed to know everything.
Yeah. So yeah, then Mr. Whitaker, after saying he doesn't know, pretty much proceeds to tell them that he knows. But,
well, kind of. He says there's no exact advice to give about crushes.
Right, but like he's saying like the best thing to do is partially you just wait for it to go away, because that's just kind of how crushes work. And to be honest, and Bobby's like, well, I didn't do a very good job of that. But yeah, just to be honest.
He also says to be sensitive to the girl's emotions.
Yeah,
because
they're emotional.
They are.
Yes. Yeah, it says telling the truth will make it all easier and whatnot, and that's about all I wrote down about that conversation.
Yeah, that kind of ends, and then he's like, let's try out this invention, and then we hear some noise.
And it doesn't
And
work.
then Mr. Whitaker going,
Anyone want a
it doesn't
barbecued
work.
ice cream sundae?
Yeah, he's like, hand me that fire extinguisher, would you, Jeff? Would anyone like a barbecued ice cream sundae?
Yeah. Just curious, if the age-old question, if you could create a new ice cream flavor, what would it be? Would it be barbecue?
No.
No? You sure?
No.
You like
No.
some Sweet Baby Ray's swirl or something in there?
No.
Are you sure?
Probably not. Unless I was going for like a savory ice cream to go in a savory dish, but I'm not just gonna eat a
Speaking of
cone
savory
of
ice
barbecue ice cream.
If I ever run into the macaroni and cheese ice cream again, I am going to buy it just for the fun of it.
You do that.
I will.
Okay.
And it's honestly.
Anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
We leave this scene. Bobby brings Amy back to the gazebo to finally be honest with her.
And he doesn't ever actually get to say what he wanted to say.
No, because Amy says, please, let me speak first. To which Bobby says, okie dokie.
Does he actually?
Yeah.
Oh, quick question.
She's like, please let me speak first. Okie dokie.
For all you listeners out there, if you try to type in okie dokie on your phone, does it autocorrect okie to something else?
I think that's just you.
Because my phone
doesn't happen to
autocorrects
me.
okie to orientation, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so if you ever get a text from Owen and it says orientation dokie, he just means okie dokie.
Yeah, anyway. So yeah, Amy's basically like, it's been a great week. We were so in love. And I don't like you anymore because I like someone else more.
I totally thought she was gonna like Jeff.
That's what I thought too. I was fully expecting it to be Jeff, and I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't because it would have been way less weird if it was.
It'd be even way funnier if it had been Jeff, especially if we would have had this like ending scene of her like chasing after Jeff and Jeff being like, no, gross.
Yeah, it would have been funny.
Missed opportunity.
Weird. And instead she's like, I like Officer Harley now. What?
And Bobby's not even like... Bobby doesn't say, he's an adult, maybe not. Bobby's like, Officer Harley's in for it now. What?
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And also
and then it ends.
The fact that Officer Harley is clearly married.
Well, there's that too, but Amy, she'll be over him in a week, and then she probably will like Jeff next. So.
I really think they should have just gone with Jeff right away. But anyway...
It would have been way funnier.
It would have been. That's the end of the episode.
Or if the last scene was her telling Jeff she likes him, and then Jeff throws mud at her because he kept telling Bobby to throw mud at her.
That would have been funny too.
Like, so many better ways you could have ended this, but no, she has a crush on Officer Harley.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. Chris tells us that the mystery person from the beginning of the episode is in fact St. Valentine. She doesn't call him that.
Wow.
She just says that his name was Valentine, but that's...
I had never actually heard this part of the whole Valentine lore.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's lots of legends of why we have Valentine's Day, but this one was a new one for me. Yeah. There's even another Odyssey story about Valentine where they tell it differently.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know if I'd heard it exactly like that before, but I mean, I knew who they were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, decent episode. Nothing fantastic. Nothing, like, terrible.
No.
I don't know. I would probably chalk this up as an Officer Harley episode that they got rid of because of Officer Harley, not because of the actual episode.
No, because we have other crush stories later in Odyssey, like Jimmy having a crush on Connie, and probably some other ones too, but that was the first one that came to mind.
Yeah. Which is really honestly good for Adventures in Odyssey and Focus on the Family, because their track record was looking a little questionable on why they got rid of the Officer Harley episodes.
Yeah, so we're tied now, right?
2-2 right now, yeah. We've got Lights Out at Wit's End and Addictions Can Be Habit Forming. That seemed more because of it was just a bad episode. And then we've got Golden,
doing unto
yeah,
others.
the Golden Rule one, and then this one that seemed more just because they were getting rid of Officer Harley. So we'll see how many more go which way, but
Yeah.
so far it's
Next week's
50-50.
episode, actually, next week's episode is another Officer Harley episode that's called Missed It by That Much. And I don't want to give away too much before we get to that actual episode next week, but this one is one that they reworked the story later on without Officer Harley. So I'm not going to say anything else for now, but stay tuned for next week where we have another Officer Harley episode.
Yeah, sounds good. But I think that about does
All
it
right.
for this week.
Yep.
Follow
Until
us.
next time, follow us at Facebook and Instagram at the sibling group chat. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things on Spotify and YouTube. And yeah, do we have a specific comment we want this week?
Comment what flavor of ice cream you would make.
Yeah, savory or sweet.
Barbecue or macaroni and cheese.
Or none of the above.
Well,
Until next time, everybody. See ya.
Dokie. We're done.
Yeah, that too. All right, bye for now.